everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Doug, along with Brad.
Hello.
And this week, we are going to be reviewing Shovel Knight.
Woo! Only like 6 years later.
Yeah, a game I played many, many years ago. and Brad only recently got to, but oh man. Shovel Knight's such a fun game to talk about because I personally didn't think I would like this game at all.
Same.
Uh, yeah, I think you need to put like if people are playing like Shovel Knight for the first time, haha. Um, Shovel Knight came out kind of a weird time, or was at least announced, I think, at a weird time when there's tons of these retro games like coming
Yeah.
out,
Yep.
and I mean I just wasn't a fan of those things, and it's hard. I think especially at that time period to figure out like which were the good ones and which were the bad ones, because even the good ones were like, if you liked Super Nintendo games, you'll like this one because it has all the weird bad caveats of Super Nintendo games.
Yeah.
Um, and but this one came out, and I don't know when I actually eventually got around. I think I was just too annoyed by people saying how good it was. It's like, fine, I'll play it, whatever. And I think this game should not be looked through the lens of like, oh, it's a cool retro game. It is just a effing good game, like, period.
Yeah. It is weird because I think I never really. I think I had that background knowledge going, okay, it's kind of a retro game, but I never had that thought like I have in other games where you're playing and you're going, like, okay, I get it. This is a throwback to this. I
Mm-hmm.
never really had that feeling with this game. It more just felt like, okay, this is just like a updated 2D version of a lot of those games, and it
Yeah,
doesn't necessarily give me that same. Okay, I get what you're doing. You're trying to redo like Castlevania, 2D Castlevania, and that's what
yeah.
we're doing right now. Oh, I get it. You liked Super Metroid, so we're doing that thing. I never got that feeling playing Shovel Knight. It was always just like, oh, okay, like, oh, this kind of reminds me of those, but it's definitely not just trying to be those.
Yeah, it feels like there's a ton of like subtle quality of life improvements too in the game that are like just based on like the many years of game. I feel like a lot of these like retro games come out, they try to like fit their style to like that time period and sort of ignoring the last like 20 years of games.
Yeah,
While this one is like very conscientious of the last 20 years of games, and then incorporates that plus the nostalgia aspect, which I think like makes it just so good because it doesn't have those sort of brick wall difficulties of the Super Nintendo era. It is a difficult game. It doesn't have those brick wall difficulties though. The game
yeah,
teaches you a lot without explicitly telling you how to do it. In ways like the old, like everyone likes to point to Mega Man X as the game that teaches you how to play the game, but I think this game does a brilliant, brilliant job of teaching you how to play it without like just like telling you or
yeah,
yeah. um, yeah. So I mean, like I think the first thing I really liked about it is that um, the game sort of the thing I like about it is the game sort of exists in its own like weird like microcosm of pretending to be like a game that's been around for a long time, in
yeah,
like the middle of a series, and like you're playing, because I think when you look at those retro games, the ones that people always talk about, like Mega Man 2 is the best one, Mega Man X is the best one. It's never the first one. So like Shovel Knight is kind of like it pretends to be the second or third game in a series.
yeah.
Uh,
You
yeah,
almost have this feeling when it starts up, like, oh yeah, all this happening, like, oh, especially now because I know this game came out so long ago. I was like, oh yeah, wait, was there something else I missed with Shovel Knight? Was the first thought I had. I was like, oh no, there wasn't. Okay, we're just doing it this way. All right, cool. You're just gonna give all these characters like backstory that I know nothing about and make them all connected without shoving it down my face like I feel like a lot of other things do. Where it's like, here's 20 pages of exposition about why these characters care about each other. It's like, nope, you did some stuff. You knew
yeah,
them. Now they're gone. Go find them.
yeah, and they're surprised, and it's surprising like how like little they give like they feel like characters, like weirdly
Yeah,
enough, like especially I feel like it doesn't feel as forced. I think some games like we're gonna make these characters, so there's gonna be a lot of exposition, a lot of talking. There's not a lot of talking, and these characters like weirdly quirky and fun, or they can have some really serious moments in a game about a knight whose main weapon is a shovel. like,
yeah.
um,
And it's the weird personalities that come out just in those quick 30 seconds of conversation before a boss fight, or just in the weird little sequences you have with people in towns, like
yeah,
that. Just so much of this comes out like, oh okay, cool. Like that's it's those little bits of information that this game does so well, where it just throws something out
mhm,
nonchalant and you're like, oh, that means like six different things that have happened, and there's so much stuff to that one line of dialogue that I don't think any other game, I'm sure there's some, but very
yeah,
few other games really do that good of a job of filling you in on such a little bit, because this feels like a game where I had hour-long cutscenes to explain to me the connection between Shovel Knight and Shield Knight and what they went through before. Like, I feel like I could probably walk you through what happened to them before this game started, even though like it was just like they went on a journey together.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. It's funny because like if you think about those old games, like Mega Man always starts in the year 20XX, and they really it tries to like those, especially Mega Man, like tries to explain a lot of things to you, and like Shovel Knight sort of uses that framework, but I think it does it much better than those older games because it just feels much better written than those games, and
Yeah.
like you're saying, where it sort of like insinuates like a lot of things that have happened. Um, I think you haven't dug in the DLC, but if you want to see good characters, like they dig, oh, like Spectre Knight especially. Like those, I think it's funny because like in Shovel Knight, you kind of get these ideas for these weird, quirky knights, and this is like one of those times in the DLC, like where it's like, oh, we're gonna explain the backstory of that character. Like the backstory of some of those characters is more interesting than Shovel Knight. Like surprisingly so. Like to the point where like I always feel like when they do those DLCs, like let's explain the backstory. It's like let's not do
Yeah,
that.
that's
Um,
not that's not why I'm interesting right now. I don't know.
yeah, it's funny because you don't really think about it as being a strength until like you kind of like reflect on like, oh, I like those characters in that weird 2D side scroller game, and it like really goes into that. But yeah, I kind of like I like the basic gameplay. I thought the basic gameplay like kind of mixed it up pretty continuously throughout. That I never felt like too. I never felt bored because I always felt like every single level had like a weird new mechanic that just used these very simple. You jump on your shovel or you flick things forward, and it
Yep.
did all these very cool things with that concept.
Yeah, and I think the length of it helps that. I think that's one of
Mm-hmm.
this game is right in that sweet spot for the style of game where it's that 5 to 8 hours,
Yeah,
and there's just enough levels that okay, we have this many ideas, so we're gonna make this many levels.
yeah,
It doesn't feel stretched out. I think that's where a lot of games run into that, where there are games that have more mechanics, but they're like, okay, we need to stretch this out. We need to use this over and over again. Whereas this, it's like, oh, I kind of finally understand how to use the ice a little bit more
yeah,
to my advantage. And then, oh, nope, that's the only level we're going to deal with that. Okay. Oh, when I'm underwater, like my jumps are a little bit bigger. Okay, I got to get used to this jump. Okay, I got that down. Oh, we're moving on. All right, cool. Like, so you just
yeah.
constantly get this uh, really well done pacing where you're constantly just feeling like, okay, I got it. Let's move to the next thing. We're not gonna run this into the ground. We're not gonna make you the best at doing this. We're gonna get you to
Yeah.
a point where you can succeed at doing it. You can do it, and it's fun. And then we're gonna get you to the next thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. That actually got interesting. I never thought about that. Like it does feel like this. Like as soon as you get, it feels like at first, like what the hell am I doing?
Yep.
Okay, I think I kind of get it. And like, and I say that they let you play a little bit, like when you feel like you're really comfortable with those mechanics. And
Yeah.
it's like just before you get bored, they cut it. Like okay,
Yep.
next thing. Yeah, actually, I never really thought about that. I think some of the boss battles too actually have some like really interesting mechanics. I like I can remember each boss battle, and I always felt like when people talk about retro games, they always like to say, "Oh, the boss battles were so cool." But my favorite boss battles are from like 3D games. But in this one, it felt like they all had really fun, weird, unique mechanics. Um, like I'm trying to think, like the one I'm thinking right now is I can't remember his name. It's not Shovel Knight. It's the guy with the big winter shovel. I forgot his whatever the character's name.
Oh. Yep. I'm not gonna remember it.
Yeah, but he's like continuously like throwing snows to cover spikes, and then sometimes like it gets uncovers other spikes, and like
Yeah.
he does like these very cool like moves and stuff, and I don't know.
And you instantly go to like in that one particular where your first thought is, oh, it's a big guy. I want to jump on his head.
Yeah.
And you hit him twice, and he just throws the shovel up above his head and then
Oh
knocks
yeah.
you back. So it's just these weird things where it's like, okay, I can't attack him from the front. I can get 2 hits in that way, and there's so much just strategic planning that goes into each boss. And it's
Yeah.
again, it's that perfect sweet spot of I feel like a good boss is 3 to 5 tries.
Yeah.
That to me is a great boss because it's I didn't get it my first time through because I
Hmm.
was trying to figure it out. Second time was kind of my practice run getting a strategy together. That third or fourth time where I'm going, okay, I got this now. I figured out what I need to do. I figured out what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
I feel like that's always the sweet spot for bosses, and I feel like that was almost every boss in this game was that 3 to 5 for me. There were a couple easier ones, a couple harder ones, but most
Hmm.
90% of them were right in that sweet spot for me of okay, whoa, that was really cool, and then okay, I think I got it. Let me try this, and then yep, okay, that kind of works. But I think if I do this, it'll work. Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
And mechanically, I just think that works amazingly for this, just because again, it gives you that sense of I tried it, I'm
Hmm.
getting good at it, I got it. Let's move on.
And the thing I also really liked about that too is like it didn't feel like I feel like a lot of like retro games like Castlevania to me especially have like a lot of memorization, but I felt like this one it didn't feel like I was memorizing those move sets. It felt like I was reacting to them,
Yeah,
as opposed to like saying it's like because sometimes they would mix up with the randomization. I think the randomization was actually done pretty well too, because sometimes like you had to change your tactics on the fly based on
yep,
the combinations of moves they were doing. Instead of just saying it's like, okay, for this specific thing I need to do this specific thing. There was just a little bit of randomness to it that you could use your strategy, but you had to still act on the fly, and I really really
yeah.
really enjoyed that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about this game. I guess before we wrap it up, like, what do you see Shovel Knight 2? What is Shovel Knight 2?
This is one of those things where it's like I feel the same way when people say, "What do you want from The Last of Us 2?"
Yeah.
It's one of those like I don't.
Oh, good. Yeah, yeah. All
You know
right.
what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah,
like this. I You can iterate on this and you can do this again,
yeah,
but really this is what I want from a game like this. And that's the same feeling
yeah,
as I always have with The Last of Us. Where it's like, oh, Last of Us 2. It's like, but am I just gonna feel worse about the first one because it's just more of it?
yeah.
Especially where like thinking of some of the things I loved about this game were just the pacing, were just the fact that like it was quick. It was you're always moving, you're always doing something new,
Hmm.
and that's actually why I hesitated to jump right into the DLCs was because it was just like okay, I like this. I like the way this played out. I want this to stay for a little bit. And I
Gotcha.
feel
Yeah,
like jumping into Shovel Knight 2 and going like, oh, well, I want more of this or more of that. It's just like, but do I? I Why wouldn't I just, you know what I mean? It's one of those weird ones where, like Destiny, I just finished up Destiny 2 again, and that's one where it's like, okay, I can tell you what you need to do better for Destiny 3. Whereas this, it's like, this, it's like, I don't know. This was really good. This was one of the better, if not one of the best 2D games I've played.
yeah.
It's hard to say what I would want more from that.
It kind of reminds me of like because when I just like reviewed Celeste, it's like it's perfect for the thing that it's trying to be.
Yeah,
Like, and there's like if you add anything else to it, it's no longer that thing.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah. No, actually, I think that's actually a good point because I was trying to think like, oh, maybe I could do this but it's like, no, I think you're right. I think it is like it should just be kind of left as is. Um,
And
Again,
I think
I just like want to see them do something different. I don't
yeah.
know what that different thing is. I don't know if it's a 3D game. Like they're very good at
No.
2D games, so I don't know.
But I think it's just that we're going to do this, almost like I don't play hardly any Mega Man, but I feel like they're all just slightly different. They're all kind of
Yeah,
the same. 90% is the same.
yeah,
There's just that one or two things. And I
yeah,
think that's what this needs to be where it's like Shovel Knight 2 is 90% Shovel Knight 1 with like one or two new things added. Maybe we expand upon those towns a little bit, or
yeah,
maybe like something like that, or maybe we just go, okay, maybe there's some kind of new freedom in some of the levels where maybe they're a bit more not non-linear. Maybe they're a little bit
yeah.
more non-linear, and
But
maybe there's a couple different paths,
what's
but
the
I don't even know
point?
if I want that. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Like, what's the point? Yeah, it's like making it
it's like
bigger. Yeah,
you could do this, but I don't know if that's what I want, and I don't know if that's what's gonna work.
yeah. No, I mean that's a good point because I was thinking like, oh, I maybe want like a Mega Man or Shovel Knight X, but I was like, probably not. Um, no, that's a good point. I was gonna say something else, but I was like, no, that's right. It should just kind of stay as is. All right, Shovel Knight is really good. If you don't know that,
Yep.
I'm surprised. If you listen to us, you should probably know that by now. But yeah, go get that
If you've
game.
been hanging
Yeah,
on for the past like 6 years like I have, just go bite the bullet. Finally, it's worth it. That's what I
yeah.
did.
I would say if you don't think you'd like that game, you probably might actually like that game. Because I thought
Yep.
I just didn't like those retro games at all. I just love that. I love the game. It's so good.
Yeah.
Uh, all right, we are Workforce Gaming. If you guys like what you heard, you can subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. See you guys next week.
See ya.